Quiz question. On the one hand, and on the other hand, how to reconcile. One of Krishna's outstanding qualities, one might say Krishna's most outstanding qualities is his partiality towards his bhaktas. He's very kind to his devotees. Bhakta Vatsala. And on the other hand, he's equal to everyone and doesn't have favorites. Samaham sarvabhuteshu na me dveshosti na priya. So how to reconcile? Sounds like contradiction. What would you like to offer as an answer? Speak loudly because the fan is loud. Speak loudly. Speak loudly.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Oh boy, that's loud.
My opinion is equal.
We don't start with sentences with my opinion is.
Krishna is equal to everyone. The way is like how much you love, he loves you back. So devotees are loving him more, so he's showing more favor to them.
Do you have a scriptural reference for that? Yes. What is it? It starts with ye. Ye yatam mam prapadyante
Etam mam prapatyante
tangs tataiva bhajamyaham.
tam satan
Tams tataiva
sam tataiva
bhajami.
Prajami.
Bhajamyaham.
prajamyaham.
Which translates into what you said. According to how bhajami, how they have service or have regard for Krishna, he reciprocates. Namaruchi, you want to add to that? Namaruchi, sit down. You want to add to that? You're the Bhakti Shastra teacher. It's a good way to start, isn't it? Everybody's at the edge of their straw mat, and maybe you're going to call on some of the ladies too.
So, Krishna is like equal to everyone from the perspective that he doesn't devotees, they give the seed of like bhakti. So devotees are like partial from that particular perspective. But when they become devotees, then Krishna like favors them based on their level of like bhakti towards him. But because he is not directly bestowing anyone with the bhakti, so from that particular perspective, he's
partial.
Yeah, like
he's partial through the medium of his bhaktas. So you're disagreeing with him, right? You're disagreeing with him?
So that he is like both partial and like not partial.
Really? And you're a Bhakti Shastri teacher. He's both partial and not partial.
Through his devotees, he is extending to...
I invite you to read Madhurya Kandamani in the beginning section where there's a discussion about how does bhakti begin. And one of the reasons that Krishna continues to show impartiality is because it would be a dosha or a fault if he showed partiality. And therefore he doesn't, but the Madhyama Bhakta does. And the Madhyama Bhakta does, because the Madhyama Bhakta is enjoined to give and, to do the four things. So the Madhyama Bhakta, if you want to fault somebody, it's the Madhyama Bhakta. But then remotely, he is enjoined to do what he does because that's the scriptural injunction for him. In other words, he's Krishna's instrument, and behind Krishna's instrument is the one who's at fault. But that's not what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says. So he's not simultaneously partial and impartial. He's impartial. And through the instrument, the Madhyama Bhakta, who gives bhakti to those who are innocent, it has something very similar to do with, he does so because he's enjoined by Krishna to do like that. It is enjoined by Krishna to do like that because if he gives bhakti to people who are offensive, they'll make offense. Or in the biblical language, don't cast pearls before swine. You've heard that one? Have you heard that one? It's a biblical statement. It says, do not cast pearls before swine, because they won't understand what it is, and they'll trample it. And so we don't give pearls to swine, or cast them before them. Similarly, the Madhyama doesn't give bhakti to those who are serious offenders. Of course, Lord Nityananda is an exception, but it doesn't give bhakti opportunity to others because people will offend. And sure enough, they offended Lord Nityananda. And because they offended Lord Nityananda, they were rescued. But that's Lord Nityananda, and he's not a Madhyama Bhakta. Although he was performing the function, and he was, in performing the function, he was not abiding by the injunction. What a Madhyama Bhakta is supposed to do. So the Lord is impartial. Anything on the ladies' side? Anyone wants to volunteer something to add to this discussion? Because this is our topic. Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala.
Hare Krishna
Hi,
Maharaj.
Krishna.
I heard Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that even though everyone is equal, I'm impartial to them, that my devotees are more dear to me.
Yes, so that sounds
So,
like partiality,
Yeah,
right?
partial.
So he's partial, but
And-
he's impartial. So that's the starting point. It's a apparent contradiction. Now he tried to take care of it by saying it's both. He's partial and not partial. And you're kind of saying the same thing. He's partial, but he's not partial. So how to reconcile? He's simultaneously both, right? You want to carry on with that? I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I'm trying to get all of us, myself included, to be thoughtful about this outstanding quality, Bhakta Vatsala. And then we're going to tell stories. The philosophy is going to be back there, and we're going to do stories.
Is it because from the viewpoint of someone who, a non-devotee, he may not, his level of bhakti or love is not as much as a devotee.
Yes.
And so in reciprocating that, when you see Krishna reciprocating with a devotee versus a non-devotee, it might seem partial, but it is not exactly partial from Krishna's side, because he is showing love to the same degree as how the living entity wants it.
Right, right. Do you agree? How about your daughter? Do you agree? And that means his partiality to one whose bhakti is weak or submission unto him is weak is not unkind. It's in reciprocation with their regard for him. Ye tam mam prapadyante. Same. You have any further realization about this now? I've intimidated you too much. It's okay. It's clear. Okay. Okay, she's done. Part of the reason for bringing this up is the last class I gave to the Chinese devotees, this topic was churning for about 10 minutes. And it took a while for it to get settled. Okay. There are various places where Krishna performs his pastimes and his quality of Bhakta Vatsala is exhibited. And as we know, that the topmost of those places is Vrindavan, because the intimacy of love in Vrindavan is topmost, and then Mathura and Dwarka, or outside of Mathura, because it's not just Dwarka, it's many other places. Bhagavad Gita, because we'll be hearing this verse, I'm sure, a number of times tomorrow, we might get warmed up. So let's say it together. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma sangsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So this Krishna is giving three reasons where sambhavami, he appears. Sambhavami, he makes the arrangement for his own appearance. To deliver the pious, annihilate the miscreants, and dharma sangstha, to reestablish dharma. Sambhavami yuge yuge. All three of those, and any person who he's interacting with, to do any one of those three, it's all merciful. In a higher sense, everyone is Krishna's devotee. Kamsa was Krishna's devotee, but unfavorable. So that's not bhakti. He wasn't bhakta in that sense. Constitutionally, one thing, but by demeanor and his behavior, abhakta. So he was annihilated. And when he was annihilated by Krishna, he was liberated. And for that matter, all of the soldiers on the Kurukshetra battlefield and everyone that Krishna interacted with and lost their bodies in his lila, liberation. Although it may have looked like a bloody mess, liberation. And the external may have looked harsh or hurtful or cruel or mean or something. Not kind, but it was kindness. The nice painting, Krishna was giving his Vatsala to his Vatsalya parents. Reciprocation. Three times in three different lifetimes, Vasudeva and Devaki had previously been the mother and father of the personality of Godhead. And this is the third time. This is Vasudeva and Devaki. And interestingly, he appeared before them, first of all, in this four-handed Vishnu form. However, it was a little complication, because how they could have parental affection for the four-armed Vishnu form. And so the pastime was enacted so that particularly Devaki requested the four-armed Vishnu form, Vasudeva, to assume the childlike form. Now, the four-armed Vishnu form can do whatever he likes. And she has, on the one hand, some realization that the four-armed Vishnu form can do whatever, that his potencies are unlimited. He's Bhagavan. However, how is she going to have parental affection for the four-armed Vishnu Bhagavan? And therefore, to match her parental affection, she asked the four-armed form to assume a childlike form. But her reason wasn't so I can not be conflicted with feelings of awe and veneration towards the four-armed form, but the motherly mood. Kamsa knows already he's killed 6 of my children, and when he knows it's the 8th child that's going to kill him, so when he hears that the 8th child has been born, and here's Vishnu form, he'll try to kill you. Now, rationally, how's Kamsa going to kill Vishnu? It's irrational. So the second irrational was, if you assume a childlike form, maybe we can hide you. But he's effulgent. How's she going to hide him? But that was her maternal feeling. If you're in a childlike form, maybe we can hide you. To oblige the Bhakta Vatsala Krishna, to oblige his Vatsalya parents, he assumed a childlike form. But before he assumed a childlike form, he gave it a series of services for Vasudeva. We all know the services. But it was to enable the parental affection of Vasudeva to be fulfilled, that he as the father could protect Krishna, although he's already shown a four-armed form and who needs to protect him, and he's shortly going to assume a two-armed form, who needs protection. But his parental affection can be fulfilled, or satisfied, or nourished. And the parental affection of Nanda and Jasoda can be fulfilled and nourished. So take me over to Gokul. Now there's a family connection between Nanda and Vasudeva. They're like first cousins, without going through the whole who's who and everything. They're first cousins. So they're the best of friends, and they're family ancestry-wise, ancestry-wise connected as cousins. They're part of the same royal family, only that Nanda Maharaj was born of a Vaishya mother, and therefore he accepted the position and occupation of a Vaishya, whereas Vasudeva was born of a Kshatriya mother, and therefore he assumed the royal position of a Kshatriya. So it's Vasudeva Krishna reciprocating with Nanda Maharaj because of his affection for Nanda's affection to have Krishna as his son. So he's and Yasoda to have Krishna as her son, but also to enjoy in Gokula his loving pastimes in Vrindavan. So in other words, multiple things were being accomplished besides the Bhakta Vatsala external appearance of his service. In other words, there's layers and layers and layers of when Krishna performs pastimes, what's going on. But a very prominent feature of what Krishna does is showing kindness to his devotees. Special kindness to his devotees. Now one could ask, how is it special kindness to Vasudeva and Devaki that her first 6 children were killed? Special kindness? I beg your pardon? And not only that, Vasudeva gave the child to Kamsa to kill. Special kindness? Bhakta Vatsala? Now there's layers and layers and layers of all of that because for various reasons that the 6 sons were cursed to be killed this way, etc. And Krishna was making this curse fulfilled. And another layer of explanation is the 6 enemies, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, were killed. That leaving the mind of Vasudeva and the womb of Devaki completely pure, so Krishna could appear. And there's many layers and layers of that analysis. So the kindness of Krishna may look like unkindness. And having faith that this is, in fact, Krishna's outstanding quality, then one has to see through that lens, as our acharyas help us do. A really nice pastime that illustrates Krishna's Bhakta Vatsala quality is this one. Grandfather Bhishma wanted Krishna to exhibit his characteristic quality of Bhakta Vatsala, and he did it in a very clever way. As if he was angry with Krishna. Not possible. He's a Mahajan, you can't be angry at Krishna. But he acted and spoke as if he was angry at Krishna because Krishna made Grandfather Bhishma break his promise, although Grandfather Bhishma never broke his promise. The 5 arrows, and Krishna had Arjuna come and take the 5 arrows, and immediately understood this is Krishna's doing. So he who made me break my promise, I am going to make him break his promise. And in breaking his promise, he's going to show us this most outstanding, wonderful quality of his. For Krishna, being Bhakta Vatsala is more important than not breaking his promise. Everyone knows the story, right? You know the story? Yes? No? Maybe? Yes, yes. Yes? Yes. Okay, everyone knows the story. Grandfather Bhishma fought with such intensity that day, having made a vow, either A or B. Either Krishna is going to break his promise, or I will kill Arjuna. And he fought with such intensity that it looked, and he is invincible. Now, does that mean that Arjuna is, still invincible? He can be destroyed because he's protected by Krishna. How can he be destroyed? He couldn't be destroyed. But Grandfather Bhishma can't be destroyed either. It's like Grandfather Bhishma fighting with Parshuram. Parshuram, Shaktivesh avatar Parshuram could not defeat Bhishma because he was protected. So a voice from the sky saying, don't desist, don't try to kill him. He's one of the Vasus and you can't kill him. Even Parshuram could not defeat Bhishma, what to speak of Arjuna, in a one-to-one combat. Neither could defeat the other. But Bhishma was so strong, and by Leela, it looked like Arjuna was finished. And so the wonderful Leela, Krishna seeing my dear devotee, Arjuna, is in danger of being finished. Not only he gave strength to Arjuna, but with the exhibition of the Leela of Bhakta Vatsala, he picked up the chariot wheel of Arjuna and went rushing to smash Grandfather Bhishma with Arjuna's chariot wheel. Now he has a Sudarshan chakra, he doesn't need a chariot wheel. Bhishma's finished. Effortless. But he wasn't going to chop Bhishma because he's his devotee. So the pastime was enacted so that the chariot wheel of Arjuna was the weapon, and the beautiful painting. Here's a close-up of that beautiful painting. Grandfather Bhishma dropped his weapons and just opened his arms. Yes, smash me. And Arjuna holding Krishna around the waist. Who can stop Krishna anyways? But holding Krishna around the waist to keep him. No, no, no. It's our grandfather. Don't smash him. And according to the exact cue of the Leela, when the sun was setting, the conch shell blew, marking the end of the battle for the day. So that stopped Krishna. And Bhishma was successful in demonstrating Krishna's outstanding Bhakta Vatsala quality. In this case, his Bhakta is Arjuna, but Grandfather Bhishma is also his Bhakta. Most exalted Bhakta, but reciprocation with his Bhakta Bhishma Dev and Bhakta Arjuna. So Bhishma was satisfied, Arjuna was protected, and everything was nice. At least that day, that particular incident. Another, there's so many, another was Krishna's pulling over the two Arjuna trees, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, were cursed to stand as trees by Narada Muni because of their offense to him. Now, Narada Muni didn't curse them because you've offended me. I'm going to curse you. It was purification with the plan that Krishna would free them from that curse. Knowing both the curse and the plan of Narada to have Nalakuvara and Manigriva freed from the curse, Krishna was acting as Bhakta Vatsala to these two brothers and to Narada Muni. In other words, to understand properly Krishna's qualities, to understand properly Krishna, which includes Krishna's qualities, he can't be understood without bhakti. Because otherwise, it's contradictory or simply remains a mystery or something along those lines. Because of his devotee Narada, these two sons of Kuvera became pure. First, some difficulty, and next, being saved from that difficulty by Krishna. Krishna's pastimes are very mysterious and very wonderful. The Govardhan Leela, of course, Krishna loves Govardhan Hill, and Govardhan Hill is not different than Krishna. At the same time, he is fulfilling many purposes. In fact, the starting point of the whole Leela has everything to do with Krishna was not so pleased with Indra's pride. And the kindness of Krishna to his devotee, Indra, was to help him overcome pride. And so he did it in a very puzzling way, because Krishna could have done it in n number of different ways, but he did it in such a way that he could also, in addition to remove Indra's pride, he could reciprocate with the desire of his devotees, as we know. Krishna's pastimes range throughout the day. It's a celebrated teaching, kind of esoteric teaching, that there's 8 periods of the day. 8 into 24 is how many times? 3, right? 3 times 8 is 24? Okay, just checking. So every 3 hours is a different period of the day, different period of the day. So Ashtakaliya Leela. And because of Krishna's Bhakta Vatsala quality, during different times of the day, he's with different devotees doing different activities, fulfilling their desire, which is his happiness to reciprocate with the desire of his devotees. And the devotees' happiness is fulfilling the desires of Krishna. So it's a very nice, loving relationship. However, during certain parts of the day, Krishna would be with different devotees, and then other parts of the day he would not be with those devotees. So they were experiencing separation. Now that's nice, because love and separation enhances love. So no problem, it's just a love enhancer. However, the feelings of separation appear, at least, to be quite unpleasant. So Krishna knew the desire of his devotees, and he's Bhakta Vatsala. And so he made an arrangement so he could be with them uninterruptedly for 24 hours a day for 7 days. And they were in ecstasy. They were missing the ecstasy of separation because they were the ecstasy of meeting. Bhakta Vatsala. Some were offering prayers, some were wanting to massage his arm, some were this and some were that. But reciprocation with their desire and their loving mood. And because he's Bhakta Vatsala, he made arrangements so that the flood, according to the past description of the pastime, the rain of Indra was so intense, you couldn't tell what was high ground, what was low ground. It was flood. And that's dangerous. Especially they don't have any drainage. Not like in a city where they have sewer lines or something, or where the water can go away. It was just rising and rising and rising, and they're fearful of the cows and how to protect the cows and their agricultural land and everything, because that's their service, that's their livelihood. So Krishna made an arrangement they could be protected. Krishna made an arrangement so Govardhan Hill could be in ecstasy, being touched by Krishna's hand. By being touched by Krishna's hand, it is said, Govardhan expanded in such a way that all the residents of Vrindavan and all the cows and all the protected animals were given lots of room underneath the expanded feature of Govardhan Hill. I mean, it's Bhakta Vatsala plus in this pastime. And when the pride in Indra had been curbed, then Indra stopped the rain, the water receded, he came before Krishna and offered wonderful prayers, thanking Krishna for removing his pride. Nice painting, it's a Pushkar painting, where Airavata is also bathing Krishna with the celestial waters, so giving kindness to Airavata. So any contact with Krishna, even where it's something inimical to Krishna and or to the devotees of Krishna, those loved by Krishna, Krishna gives his mercy to such persons also. Because behind it, although there was pride, Indra, after all, is a devotee. And when the pride was removed, then the devotion became more prominent. Similarly, most intelligent being in the whole universe, Brahma, became bewildered seeing one of Krishna's pastimes, the Aghasura demon, and he wanted to examine, out of his curiosity, what's the limit of Krishna's power? So he matched his power against Krishna's power, and guess who won? And after experiencing the unlimitedness, now Brahma is very powerful. I mean, not just he can build the universe. Who can build the universe? And how much complexity is there building a universe? Who can fathom the complexity? Very intelligent, very powerful. Given power to do all that by Krishna. Given the intelligence to do all that by Krishna. Given complete realization of the Vedas by Krishna. When he saw this pastime, what's the limit? And the answer is there's no limit. And when he realized not only the foolishness of his having a question like that, but the offense that he made by interrupting Krishna's pastimes in order to satisfy his curiosity. What's the limit? And putting the calves and cowherd boys in a cave on top of it all. It's offense. The most knowledgeable person made a curiosity-inspired offense. But he's a devotee in Krishna's Bhakta Vatsala, so he made it nice. He didn't blast him or shout at him or put him in jail or something like that, punish him. He just revealed what Brahma wanted to see in a way that he was shocked. And then offered beautiful prayers. Wonderful pastime. Another one in which Krishna is showing his Bhakta Vatsala quality, as he showed previously with Indra, who made his mistake, Brahma, who made his mistake, not just mistake, offense. And Krishna helped both of them get on the other side of the offense. His dear friend Arjuna, who by Krishna's arrangement became bewildered as if he's one of us, but Krishna again showed his characteristic of Bhakta Vatsala by allowing Arjuna to be the recipient of such a incredible, enduring literature that's extolled and celebrated around the world for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. I was at a home program yesterday evening, and there was a family from another city that had come to Houston, and the family in Houston was hosting that family from Dallas to install Gordatai deities. And it was purposefully, it was in a neighborhood where there are lots of people that don't even visit the temple, kind of like what you're planning. It's not like they don't know about the Hare Krishna movement. You may be inviting people that know nothing about nothing. But, mostly Indian people, not entirely, yesterday evening. And so there was this inspiration from one of the devotees that attended. He wanted to sponsor all those people that hadn't even been to the temple, to sponsor Bhagavad Gita. So there were 3 languages. And I'll let you guess which was the most popular language. Hindi, English, and Telugu. Telugu. We ran out. So a devotee came and said, "Oh, I know. Sir, I'll make sure you get a copy tomorrow." In the Houston temple, on Sunday, we had a japa retreat. And it happened also that on Sunday, there were 2 groups of college students, one from the University of Houston, there were like 5 of them, and then from some other university, I didn't catch which one it was, but it wasn't University of Houston. And one of the places they took them, just like giving them a tour, because it was a world religion class, and they were focusing that period of time on Hinduism. So we're the Hindu monarch butterfly, come and see our spots, and So a devotee took them to the library. In the library, on the wall, there's Bhagavad Gitas in about, I don't know, I didn't count, 50 different languages. In other words, it's known all over the world. All over the world. All over the world, even in countries that it's illegal. But all over the world. And I don't know how many, Arabic and Farsi and this and that, but, those languages also. Because some people prefer Arabic or Farsi instead of something else. It's part of Krishna's all-attractiveness. This is the Bhagavad Gita image, but Krishna's Bhakta Vatsala quality in relation to Arjuna is not just for Arjuna, it's the bhaktas all over the world that have forgotten Krishna, and Krishna is giving an opportunity for them to restore their remembrance of him by Krishna's having this nice conversation with Arjuna, putting him into illusion like he's one of us, although he's not. But giving that privilege to Arjuna for our benefits, it's like layers and layers and layers, and timeless knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, Bhakta Vatsala. And last but not least, because we started with seeing an image of Krishna in Vrindavan, when Krishna performs rasa dance with the gopis, it's often not understood. We'll say it negatively. It's misunderstood more than it's understood, unfortunately. No, it's celebrated, but for what is it celebrated? Not necessarily for the highest expression of love for Krishna as found in Vrindavan by the gopis, although that's celebrated by Lord Chaitanya and the followers of Lord Chaitanya in that way. Not everyone's a follower of Lord Chaitanya, and there's a lot of misunderstanding in a full range of misunderstanding. So how can it be properly understood? Through bhakti. And through bhakti that's been very carefully guided and cultivated, slowly, slowly. Not just 9 cantos. 9 cantos, that's a lot of verses before coming to Krishna in Vrindavan. So because tomorrow we're observing Krishna's Janmastami, is his appearance, anniversary, but it starts in Mathura. And he shows his divinity even before he leaves Mathura to go to Vrindavan. But the residents of Vrindavan, so it's not understood by scholars or religionists or theologians. Rarely is it understood, because it cannot be understood only by bhakti. And because Krishna is kind, he is Bhakta Vatsala, he reveals truths about his pastimes with the gopis, for example, unto his bhaktas. But bhaktas who have gone through step by step by step to have a proper understanding of who Krishna is. Because if we don't have a proper understanding of who Krishna is, how are we going to have a proper understanding of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, what to speak of Rasa Leela? It will look like, it's just like the name. Bhaktisiddhanta writes, persons who have material conception of life or bodily conception of life, when they hear Harinam, the holy name, to them it's a material sound. They may like it, they may not like it, but to them it's a material sound. And that's as far as it goes. Although it doesn't, not as far as it goes, because it goes directly to the soul. And the realization of the name and Hari himself, that they're non-different, is not possible as long as one carries a material conception, and it's through the lens of the mind, the binary processor mind, one will not understand it. So it remains material. So if the name remains material, what to speak of Krishna's pastimes? They remain material. They may have some fanciful, poetic, something idea. Generally, that's not the case. But it won't be an understanding. So Krishna is kind to his devotee, and he reveals truths about himself and his pastimes and his loving dealings with his devotees to one who has that loving regard for him and wants to serve him. Under the guidance of a qualified person, and then it becomes possible. The understanding of Krishna's pastimes is not an academic event or happening, or doesn't come about because somebody happens to be a really smart person so they can understand. People that aren't really smart can't really understand. Rather, proportionate to one's bhakti, Bhakta Vatsala Krishna reveals himself to that bhakta. It's by revelation. And therefore Bhakta Vatsala. No, let's go to the other, back to our circling back. Some of you came a little late. We started by asking the question, Krishna is known as Bhakta Vatsala. That's on one side of the pan scale. So he is particularly lovingly and favorably disposed to his devotee. And on the other hand, he's equal to everyone. Sounds like a contradiction. It could be especially affectionate and kind to his devotee, then he's partial. But partiality is a fault or dosha. So how do you reconcile? That's where we started. If one shows to Krishna that I really want to know Krishna, I really want to restore my understanding and my relationship with Krishna, that Krishna will help manyfold. And if one doesn't want that, Krishna won't interfere. And then, so he's equally disposed. But the eagerness is something he is equally disposed to compared to Kamsa who wants to kill him. He's equally disposed. To one he gives liberation, to the other he gives eternal residence in the spiritual world with him. Now that's a stark contrast, and it's not just a snap of the fingers or a turn of the dial, and now you're in the spiritual world because you said to Krishna, I want to be in the spiritual world with you. And he's the order supplier, he's supposed to supply your orders. It's not like that. It's relationship. And according to the relationship, he's Bhakta Vatsala. So it's in our hands. The means to get to him is in our hands. He's given it through his representatives, kind representatives, and it's in our hands to reciprocate or not reciprocate, or to the whatever degree we reciprocate, or abide by the kindness that Krishna extends. He's Bhakta Vatsala. And he's not partial, although it appears to be partial. It certainly appears that he was ready to smash Grandfather Bhishma in favor of protecting Arjuna look like he's partial to Arjuna, one of his devotees, in contrast to another one of his devotees. But he was kind to both, because it's exactly what Bhishma wanted, and it's exactly what Arjuna wanted. Arjuna was holding Arjuna, but Krishna around the waist. No, no, no. It's our grandfather. Because they're the same age. It's Krishna's grandfather too. By family connection, not by their biological birth, by family connection, grandfather. No, no, no. So Bhishma was protected to the satisfaction of Arjuna. Arjuna was protected to the satisfaction of Bhishma. Krishna broke his vow to the satisfaction of Bhishma. He was satisfying everyone, although seemingly contradictory perceptions and behaviors, but it doesn't change the nature of Krishna's Bhakta Vatsala quality. Here's our starting slide. So this is a little warm-up for tomorrow. Let's see if there's some discussion. Talking about Krishna is nice. Can't go wrong. I know you're holding the microphone. Do you have a question? You usually have a question, or two or three.
I have a question, Maharaj. I was waiting for others to start.
Okay, you speak first and then they'll follow you.
Yes, Maharaj. And today in the presentation, I've seen that Krishna was holding the chariot wheel to kill grandfather Bhishma. And afterwards only, this is the picture I've seen, Maharaj. In that picture, when you show the close-up, I happen to notice Arjuna holding Krishna. I never seen all these days.
There it is. He's holding.
Yes, Maharaj. I don't know for
Now,
some reason.
Close up, there he is. Same picture, just a close-up.
Yes, Maharaj. Only today in the close-up, I was able to see Arjuna holding Krishna.
Okay.
And also, it was so nice that Krishna is doing only one act which satisfied the left side and the right side,
Yes.
both the parties.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Although it appears he's not satisfying Arjuna, and he's not satisfying Bhishma, but he's satisfying both, although apparently satisfying neither. That's an appreciation. Question? Okay. Anybody else? You have something?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for explaining it so clearly. It was, I'm grinning because it was very, very clear. And yeah. I was wondering, in our lives, when we try to offer gratitude, we may not necessarily know what we should be grateful for, because we don't know how Krishna is showing his kindness. We may just be, or I may just assume, oh yeah, Krishna's being really kind because I like what's happening in my life right now. So I just wanted your thoughts on that.
Yadrishi Shraddha Siddhi Bhavati Tadrishi. That's my thought. The verse is part of a verse from Brahma Samhita, where the way that Bhaktisiddhanta translates it is corresponding, Yadrishi Tadrishi. so this, so that. So it's a comparison. Yadrashi, tadrashi, or yavat, tavat, same. Yadrashi, yadrashi, shraddha, siddhi bhavati. So shraddha we know is faith. He translates it at the other part, siddhi bhavati. Siddhi literally means perfection. He translates it as realization. And there's a similar verse, I can't recall the Sanskrit at the moment, but very, very similar verse taken from Jiva Goswami's writings. It's just saying the same thing. Corresponding to faith, yadrashi, yadrashi, shraddha, siddhi bhavasi, tadrashi. Krishna is reciprocating with our faith. And according to our faith, he gives realization. So, how do we see things? You know, it's one. You can say different things. According to the modes of nature, we see things. According to our conditioning, we see things. According to our subjective perspective, we see things. According to our training, we see things. Or according to our bhakti, we see things. We see Krishna differently according to our bhakti, or according to our faith. And that's good. That's our experience. It doesn't necessarily mean that is reality and nothing else is reality. It's our subjective experience of something. So if that something is Krishna, for example, kirtan. According to our teachings, the chanting of the holy name, Sri Harinam, is what's the Kevalastika verse? Satyam Satyam Param Satyam Harinam Eva Kevalam. It's reality, reality. Again, I say reality. The holy name is everything. So how do people experience that reality? It's going to be different. Even for one person, it's going to be different from one time to another time. What to speak of one person to another person. And what's the variable? The variable is the shelter that we're taking at a particular time. The object doesn't change, but our experience of the object can be diverse. Is diverse from person to person, and from one person one time, another same person another time. So, and the object has no limit. So what's our experience of the limitless? You know. Anyway, I'm playing around a little bit with philosophy, but on the other hand, it's not just philosophy. It's how we experience life, or how we experience what's what. So a big part of what Sadhu Sangha is, or Vaishnava Sangha is just taking topics of Krishna and churning those topics in various ways. And from churning those topics in Katayantas Shamam Nityam Tushanti Cha Ramanti Cha. And it's going to be, diverse. But there's an essence or a sweetness in Krishna and topics of Krishna that's, as one becomes purified and faith grows, then it becomes more and more relishable. Now, I'm not sure I'm addressing your question adequately. I'm saying a number of things. Does it address your question? Okay. Anything else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
I could hear the wheels turning. You didn't raise your hand, but
Well, because my question was very similar to what she asked. I guess to phrase it in a different way, you mentioned about how we look at it through the lens,
Yeah.
especially when talking about Vasudeva and Devaki.
yeah, yeah.
I'm just trying to understand, what are some lenses that we can use instead of hindsight 2020, what I can do in that scenario to kind of pause and not get caught up in the moment and look at it as Krishna's grace rather than
No, you're talking about having Krishna as your son. You're talking about challenges of circumstances of
just
life.
challenges, not as a son. No.
Okay, well, I want to be clear what your question is. A Vaishnava is introspective. That's a starting point. So I'm walking down the path of life, and something that I didn't expect starts to happen. And it can be pleasant or unpleasant. My sense, the lens under which I'm observing or experiencing may be pleasant or unpleasant. But that has everything to do with my conditioning, pleasant or unpleasant. So that's the next. So introspective is checking in with super soul or the transcendentalness that is what real reality is. And here's a circumstance that is perplexing or looks really attractive, like her question, looks really attractive, but is it really? So let me be reflective. And so now I'm looking, the lens that I want to look through is the lens of Scripture, and specifically the training that I've received from scriptural texts and the application of those scriptural texts from my teachers. So let's go back. I'm walking down the path of life today, and something unexpected happens. And I'm not going to right away react and get all invested in that thing, that unexpected circumstance. And my conditioned perceptions and reactive ways of emotions connected. So let me be reflective or introspective and consider the scripture, the training, the teach. So it's if one becomes practiced in this way, it doesn't take like lots of time. It's just the way in which I process things. So for example, supposing you become very fond of Srimad Bhagavatam, like I am, and you just, you like it. And because you like it, there's something about it, it just kind of, you look forward to the next opportunity and you go deeply, and after some time, you're carrying that inside. So when you become introspective, that's where you go to. That's what you're carrying inside, instead of stuff, meaning the modes of nature and my past activities, and that's my frame of reference, the lens through which I look at stuff, look at unexpected events in life. You go to Sat, or Bhagavad Katha, Bhagavad Shabda. That's where you go to, and then you evaluate the experience in light of wisdom, instead of reacting and getting all involved in problem solving or whatever else one normally would do, becoming angry or becoming something, bewildered. And so there's light, and with that light, then it can guide both your emotions and your speech and your actions. And you can just let it go. It's the blip on the screen. That's not what's really important. Let me do what's really important and invest my emotion and actions and speech in what's really important. But if you have that frame of reference, then it can, when you go introspective, it can help guide you. Of course, then there's super soul, and then maybe there may be some specific teaching or teachings that you're very fond of that have some relation to the surprise that happened today, and you have some shelter. Or the holy name. Some persons, not everybody, but some persons have a very profound affection for the holy name. I know a few people like that. And they have lots of ballast. The boat doesn't get rocked so easily because they have real shelter, and they know it's real shelter. And so circumstances can come that are unexpected or good or bad or whatever, and they don't get rocked so much. Because there's something far more meaningful. And they know it, and they feel it, and it's been with them. And they've been cultivating it and cultivating it and cultivating it. So that's a reference of Harinam, another is a reference of Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. The position of being a servant, that's a starting point. How can I be of service to Krishna in this circumstance? There's unexpected circumstance. By default, that's where my contemplation goes. You may not have an answer, but you're protected because that's your place of shelter, is how to be a favorable service to Krishna in this unexpected circumstance. Could be a windfall, could be something unexpected, very wonderful. Something, could be just the opposite. How to stay fixed. And my existence is for pleasing Krishna. Shelter. It's cultivation. So depending upon similar, the faith, yadarshi shraddha, siddhi, bhavati. Bhavati, it rises. Springs forth. What's important to me, that's where my focus will go. Vyavasayatmika buddhi. You know the verse? 241 Bhagavad Gita? Okay, read it again. There's the answer to your question. Bahushaka hinantasya bhutayo vyavasayana. One is all over the place. Bahushaka, many branched. And then you just get spun out. This, that, or this, or the other thing, the other thing. And
As you were explaining, my mind was going to the fact that
microphone. Your mind was going to the fact that
scriptures and all those points that you were giving me as for places of shelter. I was just thinking how that's Krishna being with you as a devotee.
yes,
Where the impartial aspect of it comes, where both devotees and non-devotees go through the trouble.
Yeah.
It's just that because you have the shelter, it just seems easier to you because Krishna is
Yeah.
with you.
not only seems easier,
It is.
it is.
Yeah.
It's not so significant.
Hmm.
It shrinks. The apparent significance shrinks
Right.
because there's something that's much bigger. and meaningful and purposeful and, you know, gives me energy, and the other one just shrinks. It's there. Okay. Anyone? Oh, thoughtful devotees. Uh-oh, she's got her hand over her mouth. Give her the microphone. Uh-oh. As soon as I said the thoughtful one, she shrank. Oh, thoughtless one. Oh, proud lady, what would you like to share with us? I better stop talking. Take that microphone from her. She's giggling too much.
Maharaj, yesterday we were hearing about the Bali Maharaj and
Try this.
Bali Maharaj and Vamana Dev.
Yeah.
So-
Yes.
So in that one, Nityanand Pantu was explaining that one first time Vamana Dev took everything from Bali Maharaj,
Yes.
then he gave it. So
We had a nice discussion about it, by the way. Did he tell you? After the class, I asked him, "What'd you speak about?" And he, you know, go ahead.
so I was trying to
Hold it like this.
trying to connect or understand how Krishna's Bhakta Vatsalya came there, because it looks like first Vamana Dev was not like a devotee. He was more like, I'm giving my words to Krishna that I want to serve Brahmana, as well as since he asked 3 steps, since he requested for 3 steps, I'll allow it. Then once he realized, then he became like a devotee of Vamana Dev. So trying to see like how Bhakta Vatsalya is playing a role here.
Okay, but you've given the answer to your question, haven't you? I thought you gave the answer to your, certainly Nityananda Pran did. So you heard the class and you're repeating the class. You're shaking your head no, but I'm shaking my head yes. Was Vamana kind? Was he being Bhakta Vatsala to his devotee? In what way was he being kind to Bali? In what way?
All the lower planets too, more than what he added.
Well, besides, he gave him a residence that was of an opulence even greater than that of Indra, aside from, you know, the reward that he got. In what way was he being Bhakta Vatsala in relation to Bali?
He kept
You're not
his
sure?
lotus feet on his head.
Yeah. And what does that mean? It's just, you know, what does that mean? How's that? Elaborate.
It means that he's giving shelter to
Yeah.
Bali Maharaj.
Yeah. He, Vamana, said, this is after he bound him and all that stuff. And there was a whole big discussion saying, how did he do that? Because he surrendered everything. Now you're treating him like a criminal? That's not right. And then his grandfather, Prahlad, came along. Oh, that's good. And then Lord Vamana said, I just wanted to show the extent of this devotee's devotion. So he had taken everything and given him everything, but he wanted to show the world his quality, his character, and therefore Bhakta Vatsala, the special. He became his doorkeeper Bali didn't ask him for that. He volunteered. So, Bhakta Vatsala, is that what you wanted to hear? Or you know, just churn the topic of? Could you hold it close to your, there we go. It's one of those rules about microphones. I got trained up. They were on my case, I tell you. Don't just put it like this, put it like this. The quality of the sound, if you hold it like this, there's distortion and sometimes feedback. If you go like this, the sound quality is better. I mean, I don't need to give a lesson on how to hold a microphone, but
No, it's clear, Maharaj. And earlier I was thinking like he was not devotee, how like he got a mercy suddenly, like that's where I was coming from. Thank you.
okay. My computer is telling me that my battery is low. The red light is flashing, so I'm going to shut it down. Anyone else? Yes.
Okay. Hare Krishna Maharaj. One observation and one more validation, Maharaj. Observation is like in the Govardhan Leela, I always seen Indra as a villain actually. But in today's class, I found this showing the special kindness. Krishna has shown the special kindness to Indra.
And what was the kindness that he showed him?
Uh,
Be explicit. He
he
removed
has
his
taken away the pride.
Very good.
Thank you much.
Now, when someone's pride is taken away, does it feel good?
Ye-
Ooh.
It's a bitter treatment. It's a bitter taste. But
It doesn't feel good.
yes,
But when it becomes introspective, then
I'm pondering on this thought, Maharaj. I wanted to read it to see whether I'm good in that. My thoughts. Who is successful in life? Like in studies, successful is with the good merits, and in office, being successful is being good in the career. In life, the good wealth and the health actually.
okay.
But
But
all these things, I have seen that
They're
everything has an expiry date. So
that's a nice way to put it.
So the thought which I'm pondering is the real success is knowing Krishna, serving Krishna, chanting His name, and hearing His glories. This continues life after life. It doesn't have any expiry date.
You're
Is-
brainwashed. That's a compliment. Yeah. Now, are you going to remember that tomorrow? That's the difficulty. Yadrashi, Yadrashi, Shraddha, Siddhi. So, when some good fortune comes or some ill fortune comes, are you going to remember it? That's the real test. Reflection, when you're introspective, it's easy. But most of the time, we're the modes of nature got a hold of us, and we're doing one of the modes of nature things. Mostly. So it's the right idea, brainwashed in a good sense. Certainly that's what Scripture says. Certainly that's what Bhagavad Gita says. All Scripture will say that. Okay. So you're looking for verification, and the answer is yes. Okay. Stira, you have something? What? And we have something online? Okay, one. It sounds like going on.
So I was just thinking, we hear that Krishna is very kind, but
What?
when when we see different situations in different devotees' life, then like you were explaining, Devaki's 6 children being killed.
Yeah,
Is
that's not nice.
Is that being kind? But then when we look at the purport for that, saying, "Oh, these are the 6 pride, envy, and so on," and
Krishna removing that from Devaki.
yeah. But when in like in a devotee circle, when we see somebody going through a difficulty or some like say not so nice situation
Yeah, I
happening
know
with
some
a
nice. I know some
devotee,
of those.
so then meaning how to look at those situations as Krishna's kindness.
Well, we may not be able to. 2 things. We may not be able to see it in the moment. Long term, better chance we can see it. And then fundamentally, Krishna is kind. Fundamentally, Krishna is kind. And so what may look like something horrific, and in some cases from a lens of proper conduct or Vaishnava conduct, someone, Vaishnava or a non-Vaishnava, dealing with a Vaishnava, an elevated Vaishnava, or just a Vaishnava, in a way that's unkind, doesn't mean it's okay. Krishna's got a special plan to show kindness to this really nice Vaishnava by having them getting slapped around or mistreated or something. It's not okay. But there's a bigger plan that you and I, and many cases, we don't see the bigger plan. But there's something beneficial for that taking shelter of Krishna devotee to help them take further and deeper shelter of Krishna. Or, like what Vamana said about Bali, I just wanted to show all of you, just see what an elevated Vaishnava Bali Maharaj is. He didn't protest, he didn't flinch, he didn't whine and complain. He just accepted. Just see how glorious he is. And going forward in time, not only the ropes are going to be gone, but I'm going to protect him. I'll be at his gate, and no one is going to be able to harm him. I'll give him an opulent kingdom. Not that Bali wanted an opulent kingdom, but I'll give him an opulent kingdom, more opulent than Indra's. So that happened quickly, and reciprocation from the most kind Krishna doesn't always happen quickly, but it happens because by nature he's kind. And he's particularly kind upon his devotee. And the devotee who remains unflinching, it's nice, that's a good adverb, unflinching. That's a verb. Unflinching. Flinch means, and unflinching is, you don't do that. Unflinching, unswerving, devotional service. That's an exalted devotee. Krishna sees it. Krishna is showing it to others. And ultimately, the issue is between Krishna and that devotee, not the rest of us. This is something that I learned from Borijan many years ago. Long story short. During the years that I was teaching at the BIAG, and he was also teaching at the BIAG, Vrindavan Institute of, so in Vrindavan, together for a month. And we had lunch together every day. That was like really fantastic. And one day I brought up a topic, so-and-so Prabhu, something, something. What should we do to help so-and-so Prabhu? And pause. He already had the answer, but he paused anyways, kind of like I thought to help train me, and said, I have learned over the years, there's some things that's just between that devotee and Krishna. And you don't need to do anything. I mean, there are some things we need to do. There's some things we don't need to do anything, because what's going on is there's a relationship between that devotee and Krishna. And don't try to do Krishna's business for Krishna. That was his advice. Today I don't even remember what the issue was, but the principle was very clear. So a unswerving, unflinching, faithful devotee isn't going to be moved by misfortune or harsh treatment or something. It's just part of this world in which we live. It's a place of duality, and sometimes. It's just the nature of the place. Now, we don't expect that from devotees. When it comes from the devotees, it's like, what? It's hard for me to process, which is what you're saying. We see it happening, You know what's going on with Prabhupada Madhuri? God. She's sending me like 5, 6, 7 texts a day, giving me a blow by blow. And I can't imagine being the mother going through what she's going through. What to speak of her son. So that's not nice. Fortunately, I mean, let's see what happens after 10 years, but fortunately for her, she's remaining very strong and faithful. She's not shaken. I mean, it could easily be, etc. It doesn't mean when misfortune comes, it's okay. Or if somebody is an instrument of that misfortune, it's okay. Because it's, Krishna's plan to help someone come closer to him. So being the instrument of someone else's misfortune is okay. It's not okay. Behavior can be, inappropriate or wrong. But so your question is how to see something like that, what to speak of being on the receiving end of something like that, and how do you process it? It's the same 2 answers. In the long run, as we become more elevated in Krishna consciousness, we may see what we couldn't see today. How Krishna's kindness was there for that devotee that was on the receiving end of that misfortune. And the other is, in principle, Krishna is very kind, always. So that can help you in your realization that Krishna is very kind, to be very sensitized to somebody you see going through some difficulty. like his example, something that's and surprising comes, and what to do, how to process it. The good fortune looks, for if there's residual material affinity, become the enjoyer of it, and if it's misfortune, become depressed or become sad or become angry or become one of those 6. Take shelter of toxicity. That's not good. So bhakti can protect one from that toxicity and the negative emotion experience of misfortune. I mean, because it's been going on for some number of days now, I'm in awe at how strong Prabhupada Madhuri is spiritually. I can't even imagine. You have something? We have something online, and then right behind you is something after you're online. You do the online, and then this. No, give it to Namaruchi. Give it to Namaruchi. The online person has been very patient.
So this question is from Madhavi Sundari Mataji. My friend last time came to Vrindavan Yatra for the first time. When she came, her brother passed away. Because of her bitter experience, her enthusiasm decreased and not attending classes regularly, etc. How can I convince her?
Be an unflinching friend to the person who you spoke about. You be the instrument of Krishna's kindness to that person. And if you're praying to Krishna to be an instrument of Krishna's kindness, and regardless of how they respond to you or to Krishna, you be an instrument of Krishna's kindness. And if you're consistent in that consciousness, aside from what you do and say, you're consistent in that consciousness, that's going to have an impact. And Super Soul will give you the intelligence what to say or what to do in different circumstances. So, in other words, be sadhu sangha for your friend. Or you're not judging, and even if they feel something negative, you're not respect it, but you're not going to be put off by it because you're being Krishna's representative of his mercy. And if you're thinking like that, Super Soul will give thee the intelligence. If you're thinking like that, the purity that you carry will have some power or impact. You get the last question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
So, I was just wanted to ask a follow-up question on that mercy on Bali Maharaj that you discussed today.
Okay.
So, in the Bali Maharaj case, like you said that Krishna kind of showed everyone that his great qualities as a Vaishnava.
Yes.
But like Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala, like Krishna has shown other people the greatness of Bali Maharaj. But what was that longing of Bali Maharaj that Krishna satisfied in that particular pastime? Like in case of Bhishma Dev pastime, like he was in Virya Rasa, so Bhishma Dev wanted to experience that Virya Rasa with Krishna. So similarly, like in Bali Maharaj case, what personal this thing that he got to experience from Krishna, from Vaman Dev.
Where is he? He left? Huh? His daughter got restless. Okay. It was part of the theme of the class. Um, there's a phrase in what Bali Maharaj said that indicated there was some pride. You're unintelligent. I own so much. You could ask for anything. You're only asking for this. This isn't very intelligent. Indicating there was some pride. So Bali was removing the pride. Now, it's not exactly the flavor of your question, but it's the reciprocation that Vamana was giving. And he responded very nicely. He gave everything and made no protest. So the reciprocation from Vamana's side to Bali was removing his pride. Like with Indra. You have something further. Yeah.
So Bali Maharaj, I'm no one to compare, but just looking at between Bhishma Dev and Bali Maharaj. So Bali Maharaj's way of bhakti, like, was it not so much deep like that of Bhishma Dev?
Yes, that's right. Now, both are in the categories of Mahajans.
Yeah.
My understanding is this, from this particular passage from the Bali Maharaj story, Bhishma Dev had not even a trace. Bali had a trace.
Okay.
And Vamana removed that trace. And Bhishma it was a loving dealing from the get-go.
Yeah.
But Bhishma was showing anger. He made me break my vow. I'll show him. I'll make him break his vow. But that's the virya, as you indicated. The chivalry is, he can't break Krishna. But he can have Krishna show his Bhakta Vatsala quality. That's another thing that he wanted very much. And that as soon as Krishna did that, Bhishma dropped his weapons and opened his arms. Smash me.
So this pride that Bali Maharaj has shown, like that
It's a
particular-
trace.
Yeah, it's the
It's
trace.
not major.
So that he showed after knowing that Vamandev was Krishna.
No.
So like if he knew, he wouldn't have shown that.
Well, you can guess if you want.
No, I'm just asking Maharaj. I don't know. Like I don't want to be judgmental. So I just want to understand like what.
From the verse, it reads as if there was some residual trace, and Vamana knew that was there, and he removed that residual trace by placing him in a position where he had to. Now, he didn't have to, but because his nature was to surrender everything, there may have been some pride. Oh, I've surrendered everything. But, and then the mercy. But the mercy was already there in the form of removing his pride and further by accepting him. What was
Yes,
that?
yes, Maharaj, I got it.
Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Holiness Ramapada Maharaj ki.
The devotees in Hare Krishna Dham, in there we go, Houston, they supplied me with some Mahaprasadam. I'm going to distribute some Go ahead.